Imagination creates reality. Imagination creates reality, not as a poetic phrase, but as the most profound truth ever whispered to man. Everything you see, everything you touch, every circumstance you call real life is but a shadow cast from a deeper world, your own wonderful human imagination. Neville begins with the thunderclap. All that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your own wonderful human imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Stop for a moment. Let that sentence shake the dust from your mind. The life you call solid, the bills on the table, the walls around you, the streets you walk, these are only echoes, reflections, projected outward from the hidden chambers of thought and feeling. The imagination is not a toy of the mind. It is the eternal body of man. This imagination is God Himself, walking in the garments of flesh, dreaming worlds into being. You are not anchored to the physical form you wear, no more than you are anchored to the clothes draped upon your body. This body will fade. The garment will be discarded. But your imagination, eternal, creative, sovereign, cannot die. Think of it this way. You enter a room, and because you are present in it, the room feels real. The moment you leave, it is no more substantial than a flat picture. What gives the room its depth? You, your consciousness, your imaginal presence. At home, where you dwell daily, the walls throb with meaning. In a strange hall, the walls are hollow. Why? Because the imagination, your immortal self, gives life to whatever it indwells. Here lies the secret that separates the awakened from the sleepwalker. The world does not dictate reality to you. You dictate reality to the world. Every so-called fact is nothing more than a crystallized imagination, hardened into form. But the question rises like a tide. What will you do with this? How will you use this power? Neville does not leave us with abstraction. He presses the truth into practice. Imagination is the workshop where you rearrange the structure of the mind and the world obediently follows. You want a better job. The outer world might chorus, "You're unqualified, the times are bad, the business is failing." Yet the world can only echo what you have already whispered to yourself. Doubt within becomes rejection without. Fear within becomes closed doors without. But if you dare to assume differently, the mirror must change. This is the great shock. The fact you seek is not out there. Fact is what the imagination accepts as true. The outer reality is simply its delayed shadow. Neville reminds us, reality is in the imaginal act, not in its actuality. Actuality is only the afterglow. Imagination is the fire. So here, at the threshold, you are handed the mightiest of secrets. To move in imagination is to move in reality. To occupy a new inner world is to demand that the outer world conform. To dwell in an assumption is to plant a seed, and the seed must, by law, bring forth after its kind. Now pause. Let this mystery enter you. You are all imagination. God Himself is man and exists in us, and we in Him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God Himself. If that is true, then wherever you are in imagination, there you truly are. Close your eyes now. Feel this. You are not anchored to the chair, to the room, to the city where your body sits. In one breath, you can assume yourself elsewhere. In one breath, you can rise in status, in love, in abundance. The only border is your refusal to imagine. The world will insist on telling you what is, but now you know what is was once only imagined. The future is not waiting for you, it is waiting on you. And so the challenge is whispered into your spirit. If imagination creates reality, what reality will you dare to imagine tonight? In the next step, Neville takes us from theory into practice, showing us how one quiet assumption can bend the outer world into shape. Are you ready to see how? If imagination creates reality, then the question is no longer, is it true, but rather, how do I practice it? Neville presses the lesson upon us with urgency. This is not theory to admire, but a power to wield. Suppose, he says, you wanted a better job. Immediately, the world outside, through employers, circumstances, and so-called facts, will echo back your own inner doubt. You are not qualified. The times are not right. Business is slow. But hear this. The world can only mirror the verdict you have already passed on yourself. If inwardly you whisper, I am not enough, the outer voices will shout the same. So what is the remedy? To dare. To dare to ask, what do I truly want? And then, without waiting for evidence, without asking permission from reason or senses, to assume that you are already the man or woman you desire to be. This is the axis on which your destiny turns. In Neville's words, if I dare to persist in that assumption, then the outer world will rearrange itself and reflect that which I have assumed. What the world calls fact is simply the shadow of an imaginal act. What you plant in imagination and persist in must harden into visible form. Here lies the first law of creation. All things bring forth after their kind. If you plant doubt, you reap delay. If you plant confidence, you reap opportunity. The soil is your imagination, the seed is your assumption, and the harvest is the life you call real. Consider the mystery. You sit in a room. It feels solid, cubic, more real than the home you will later return to. Yet the moment you leave, the room fades like a picture. Meanwhile, your home, where you live day and night, is more alive, more saturated with meaning, because your consciousness dwells there. What gives depth? Not bricks, not walls, not furniture. Presence gives depth. Your imagination, indwelling, makes it real. So too with every state of being. The moment you indwell a new assumption, that state becomes alive, and the world must in time echo it. Now Neville takes us deeper. Being all imagination, I must be wherever I am in imagination. I am not confined to this garment of flesh. This body, like a suit of clothes, will one day be discarded. But your immortal self, imagination, is not confined, not anchored. Right now, you can sit in your chair and yet assume you are elsewhere. Close your eyes and dare to feel yourself in another place, another circumstance. How would you know you were there? By what you see relative to your new position. For example, if you assume you are in New York, you would look westward and see Los Angeles 3,000 miles away. Change of position in imagination proves movement. The same applies to life. When you assume a higher state, socially, financially, spiritually, your friends will see you differently. You may still be the same person, but to them you will appear transformed. The secret is to let them see you differently in your imagination first. To arrange the structure of your mind so vividly that you fall asleep in that state as though it were true. This is the great practice. SATS, the state akin to sleep. On the border of slumber, where the mind is relaxed and impressionable, you plant the seed of assumption. Neville describes it plainly. Fix the scene, enter it, and drift into sleep as if the wish were already fulfilled. If I dare to assume and persist in that assumption, then I should produce the fruit of that seed. The senses will mock you. Reason will deny you. But imagination is not mocked. What you sow, you must also reap. The law is inexorable. Do not underestimate its simplicity. Neville warns, the vision has its own appointed hour. It will ripen, it will flower. Though it seems to tarry, wait for it is sure, and it will not be late. The harvest may not come tomorrow, but come it must. And here lies the beauty. You can practice this not only for yourself, but for others. Neville tells us he has done it countless times for friends. A request is made, he hears the friend's voice announcing good news. He feels the thrill of their victory. He invests a few moments of attention until it strikes him with the force of reality, and then he drops it. The seed is planted. The harvest is certain. Do you see the pattern? Thought is not a passing cloud. It is a seed. Reaction is not trivial. It is a planting. You are always sowing, whether consciously or carelessly. Every assumption, every inner word, every imaginal scene is an investment or a waste. So the wise turn life into a garden of deliberate seedings. To sit quietly, to hear the voice of a friend declaring the wish fulfilled, to feel the electric thrill of "it is done." This is prayer. This is creation. Invest your imagination. Do not spend it. Spending scatters. Investing multiplies. To invest is to sow with expectation of return, and return is certain. For God in you, your own wonderful imagination, cannot fail. Pause here. Consider. What scene will you fall asleep in tonight? What seed will you plant? For the soil is ready, and eternity itself waits for your decree. Next, Neville proves the principle with a story that has become legend. A man with no money, in the depths of the Depression, imagines himself across the sea, and reality itself bends to obey. It was the year 1933. The world staggered under the weight of the Great Depression. In New York City, theaters were closed, streets empty, opportunities scarce. Neville was a dancer then, but who would pay for a dancer when bread itself was scarce? He had no money. Not a little, not some, none. And yet, burning within him was the desire to return to his home island, Barbados. He confessed this longing to his teacher, Abdullah. The response came like thunder. "You are in Barbados." Neville blinked. "I am in Barbados?" "Yes," Abdullah insisted. "You are there, now." It seemed absurd. He stood in New York. He had no ticket, no money, no way to cross 2,000 miles of ocean. But Abdullah was unyielding. That very night, Neville was instructed to sleep in Barbados, in imagination. To lie down in his little bed in New York, but feel himself resting in the warm air of his island home. And from that night forward, whenever he closed his eyes, he thought of New York not as where he was, but as northwest of him, 2,000 miles away. Weeks passed. Nothing appeared to change. Doubt began to gnaw. Neville said, "If I don't make the next boat, there are no planes, and I cannot go." Abdullah cut him off. "Who told you that you are going to Barbados? You are in Barbados. We do not discuss how. You are already there." And with that, He turned and slammed the door, ending the conversation. Do you hear the lesson? The imagination does not concern itself with means. The how is the world's business, not yours. The end alone is your responsibility. And then it happened. Within 48 hours, a letter slid under Neville's door. His brother Victor had written, "I have arranged with the steamship company to issue you a ticket. Charge it to me. Here is $50 for your needs. I will meet you when you arrive." But the drama was not finished. When Neville went to claim his passage, the clerk said, "We only have steerage until St. Thomas. From there, you may move to first class if someone disembarks." He returned to Abdullah with this news. "I am sailing December 6th, he said, "but in steerage until St. Thomas." Abdullah's eyes flashed. "Who told you that?" "You are in Barbados, and you went first class." The day of departure arrived. Neville boarded the ship, prepared for steerage, but then the unexpected. "Mr. Goddard," said the agent, "we have a surprise. There was a cancellation. You are now sailing first class." Do you see it? The outer world, down to the smallest detail, bent itself into the shape of his assumption. He imagined Barbados, he imagined first class, and though reason mocked, though senses denied, the imaginal seed bore fruit. Here is the law, unveiled in flesh and bone. Assume the end, and you are already there. Refuse to compromise with appearances. Refuse to bargain with how. The end contains within itself every bridge of incident. The lesson is merciless and magnificent. You must live from the end. You must feel the wish fulfilled. You must ignore the chorus of not yet, not possible, not enough. When you dare to abide in the end, the world will conspire in silence. Letters will arrive, doors will open, cancellations will occur, until the imaginal act stands embodied as fact. And so Barbados was not a journey across the sea. It was a journey across consciousness, a proof that imagination, when assumed and persisted in, is sovereign over circumstance. Think on this. You are not called to wrestle with the mechanics of life. You are called to clothe yourself in the end. The law is impartial. The imagination is God, and God is not mocked. What you dare to assume, you will in time encounter. So tonight, what is your Barbados? Where is the place you long to be, but reason insists you cannot go? Who is the self you long to embody, but history tells you you are not? Take Abdullah's counsel. You are already there. Feel it, sleep in it, live from it, and wait. The bridges will form. But Neville does not stop at law. He reveals an even greater mystery, that beyond the conditional use of imagination lies the unconditional promise, God's eternal plan to awaken as you. By now the pattern is clear. Imagination creates reality. The law is simple, exact, and impartial. You assume, you persist, and the harvest comes. But Neville does not end the lecture there. He lifts the veil higher and shows us something even greater. There are two great revelations in Scripture, the law and the promise. The law is conditional. It makes no judgments. It delivers according to what you assume. If you dare to occupy the state, you will reap its fruit. If you sow doubt, you will harvest delay. If you invest confidence, you will encounter opportunity. As long as you're in this world of Caesar, the law is the operative power. It can be applied to find work, to pay rent, to heal a body, to lift a friend. It is the bridge between desire and its expression. But then comes the promise. Unlike the law, the promise is unconditional. It is God's own plan to redeem Himself as you. No failure, no mistake, no sin, no limitation can cancel it. At the appointed hour, whether rich or poor, guilty or innocent, awake or asleep, the Christ within you will rise. You will discover yourself to be not a servant of God, not a petitioner of God, but God Himself. This is why Neville insists, your fitness for the kingdom is not the condition of His choice. It is the consequence. You are chosen, and nothing you do or fail to do can undo the promise. But while the promise is certain, the law remains vital. While you walk this world, you must pay Caesar his due. Taxes, rent, clothing, food, all demand the currency of this realm. And so you are given the law, not as a punishment, but as a gift to navigate life with dignity, with provision, with peace. Neville himself did not desire millions. He desired steadiness, a comfortable flow of income, free from anxiety. And so he used the law for that. And he used it for others. To Neville, prayer was not begging an external deity, nor reciting borrowed words. Prayer was this: to bring a friend before the mind's eye, to hear them tell him their desire was fulfilled, to feel the thrill of their joy, and then to let it go. That imaginal act, struck with the force of reality, was the creative act. No repetition needed. The seed was sown. But there is a warning in this gift. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. As a man sows, so shall he reap. Every reaction is a planting. Reading a newspaper in judgment, condemning a stranger, indulging in fear, these too are seeds, and the harvest cannot be denied. Most men reap in tears what they sowed in carelessness. But you, awakened, can sow deliberately, sow lovingly, sow creatively, so invest. Do not spend, do not squander thought, time, and energy on what you do not wish to multiply. Every moment is a choice: investment or waste, seed or ash. And yet, above all, remember this: the law is not the end, it is the tool. The promise is the end. The day will come when David, the symbol of the beloved Son, will stand before you and call you Father. In that moment, you will know beyond doubt that you are God, that the Ancient of Days has embraced you, that your imagination, long disguised as human limitation, is the eternal Creator Himself. Until that day, use the law with wisdom. Why live poorly when you can live well? Why walk in fear when you can walk in assurance? Why not plant seeds of beauty and harvest joy? While the promise waits its hour, the law is yours to command. So tonight, hear the challenge again. Imagination creates reality. You are not a beggar at the door of fate. You are the author, the sower, the dreamer of worlds. If you dare to assume the end and persist in the assumption, the world will yield in obedience. And when the harvest comes, as surely it will, you will know that the words of Scripture were never metaphor. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Until then, plant wisely, assume boldly, love creatively, and live as one who knows the truth. The world is imagination outpictured, and you are its eternal source.